from the Denver Broncos Media Center, welcome to Broncos Country Tonight with Ryan Edwards and Benjamin Allbright.
Welcome to Broncos Country Tonight, breaking down the matchups of the Broncos and Browns game. And officially, we know Case Keenum will be starting for the Cleveland Browns, a very familiar name here in Denver. And it looks like Teddy Bridgewater is going to go for the Broncos. So what we have right now is a little bit of an interesting twist on the matchup. What we knew about Baker Mayfield, what we know about Baker Mayfield, how does it translate now with Case Keenum and that offense? I still think that there's an intention to run the ball, which is what the Cleveland Browns have kind of been.
Well, and that's going to revolve around Dearness Johnson because the running backs are out. So it's going to be interesting. You got the tackles that you got. I think that the Browns are looking at this two ways. One, they're looking at this as Broncos are a beatable team, and let's be honest, last 3 weeks we kind of have been. And then I think the other way to look at this is we got a stretch run coming up. It's going to be rough. Let's try to get everybody healthy. If we're going to dump a game, let's just dump this one. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's kind of, you bring Case in, you do all that kind of stuff, and I think that's the way you go. We've seen Case Keenum here. We know what he is and what he isn't. He's a capable spot starter. I don't want anybody to start laughing at him. This isn't putting Kendall Hinton out there or Jeff Driscoll. He's a capable spot starter. He does have limitations with his arm, which is interesting because Baker actually has a high velocity arm, one of the higher velocity arms in the league, believe it or not. People just, because he's short, they assume he's got a weak arm or whatever. Case does have the weak arm. We saw he couldn't make the seam throw when he was here in Denver. So I think you bait him into that. I think you bait him into trying to make those seam throws and see what you can do by trying to pick him off.
Yeah, and those opportunities will be there, and you have to imagine, based on his history here in Denver, his history even with Teddy Bridgewater, also, again, just, the experience I'm sure that Coach Fangio has as he saw him out there in Minnesota when he was in Chicago. I feel like Case Keenum has enough tape at this point. You know what he is and what he isn't. So that I don't really worry too much. It's not like calling up somebody that's a rookie or a young player that is the next up and coming something. But at the same time, it does change a little bit of the dynamic because we have a couple of banged up wide receivers. They're going to be, as you mentioned, with their backup running backs, might be there with backup offensive tackles. There's certainly not a team to sleep on because, as you said multiple times, the Browns are probably from top to bottom a more talented team overall. But how do you feel about their depth?
Well, we're about to find out. Dearness Johnson was a factor in the AAF, but that's several years ago, and frankly, a lesser league. He hasn't been much of a factor in the NFL. He's got a great story. If you ever want to go, there's some videos out there. People did documentary stuff. He's got a great story, and it's fascinating to watch. But in the end, he's a below replacement level rusher at the NFL level, kind of bottom of the roster, hang-arounder type guy. But the Broncos could be susceptible to the run. Mm-hmm. You got linebackers out, and Micah Kiser and Sternad don't exactly have a whole ton of reps. So that's going to be interesting to see, if they're able to hold up on their end. Cleveland loves to play the offense that we're familiar with here in Denver, which is the wide zone and then boot back. You run wide zone to the left, and then you boot back to the right off play action and try to hit the deep ball. And Odell Beckham is still a weapon, although he and Baker hadn't got on the same page. Maybe he and Case Keenum can. And we expect him to play right now. It's just still a little iffy, but we expect him to play. They've got some other weapons there that, that can get deep and catch a football. It really just hinges on whether or not that offensive line, banged up as it is able to get push against the Broncos D-line.
Yeah, James Hudson's their starting right tackle. If they can have their starter out there and Blake Hance at left tackle, and that's who started last week. They gave up a combined 6 pressures in that game against the Arizona Cardinals, who are a good defense, and they have a really good pass rush. Let's go over to the defensive side of the ball here for a minute and talk about what Teddy Bridgewater is going to see. And, of course, I think he almost immediately has to start with those pass rushers. And this is the deal. Like, you even watch those guys against Kyler Murray, and he's scrambling around back there. I was watching that game. He's moving around. He's trying to buy time with his legs. Those guys get there in a hurry. They're powerful, and I'm a little concerned about Teddy Bridgewater's mobility right now.
They're big, strong, and fast, and that's it's a lethal combo. Teddy's limping, he's gimping. That's assuming that he plays and starts, which right now is what we have the indications on from the coaches. It's going to be a problem. This offensive line is not protected particularly well. You saw all the pressure and the hits given up against the Raiders. And if you think that's the Raiders are not particularly a great defensive line. They've got Max Crosby, who's a heck of a player, but beyond that, the rest of those guys are kind of just average. You look at the Browns' defensive line, and they've got some players. And Myles Garrett might be one of the best in the NFL. So you got some tough matchups there. The linebacking core for the Browns is a little exploitable, but beyond that, the rest of it is I think it's pretty tough.
Yeah, they've overall been a pretty solid defense across the board. They haven't really gotten a lot of turnovers. That's the one thing that they haven't been very opportunistic. But again, the Broncos just came off a game where they gave up the ball 4 times. So this is incumbent on the Broncos on the road in a short week. Take care of the ball. Try to get some kind of run game established, even though this is a good run defense, and really try to limit the effectiveness of those pass rushers. I don't think there's a rest of the Cleveland defense that really scares me so much if the Broncos can kind of play within themselves.
Yeah, the secondary, the corners are pretty good. They match up pretty well. The safeties, a little less so.
Greedy Williams and Denzel Ward.
Right, they've got some good corners. Yeah, Greedy's been a little banged up.
Yep.
The safeties, a little less
Harrison
so.
Johnson.
Right, they got one box safety, one high safety, and they're exploitable. There are ways to exploit that, but you got to stymie the pass rush, and that's what makes everything go.
Yep, 100%. So, I mean, like I said, for the Broncos, which they've been saying all week, it's about getting back to fundamentals. It's about doing the basic stuff. It's about doing the small stuff. If you really are focused on doing those things, and take the shots when you can get them, but otherwise understand the principle of this thing is to get the ball out of Teddy's hand fast. Third longest time to throw in the league. That can't be a thing we're talking about after this game. It's just simply not working for him right now. It's not working for that offensive line.
Well, if he's holding the ball the same amount of time, he won't be in that game all game. He'll get knocked out of it at some point. So that's just not going to work. He's got to get the ball out quicker. He's got to, if he gets through the progression and it's not all there, throw the ball away, or figure something else out. Hit the check down then a lot quicker. Trying to stay with the pattern as long as he does has gotten him into trouble. We've seen it. That's been the story out of his entire career. We talked about that when he's brought in here, how he takes a lot of sacks, and that's that's something you can't do. So,
where's your optimism about this game now with all the injuries, really on both sides?
Not that high. I'll be honest with you, not that high. This might be the first game I picked the Broncos to lose, even though I probably should have picked them the last couple of weeks.
All right, there you go. For Benjamin Allbright, I'm Ryan Edwards. Thanks for watching Broncos Country Tonight.